Hey, Hockey World and Oilers Twitter fans. My name is Michael Hebert, and I'm competing in the Upper Decks Ultimate MVP, and I could use your vote. Vote for me by liking my Twitter post at Upper Deck Hockey. And if I win, I get the Ultimate MVP. Thanks, and I hope you like my bracket. Make sure you leave some comments, like, and subscribe. Enjoy.
Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, hockey fans, it's Michael from the Oilers Live podcast. I'm going to run through my bracket for the Oilers Twitter Fans League. If you haven't joined already, please join, although it might be too late by the time you're watching this. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube page. I'd love to see you guys following and have you interact with me. Make sure you comment below and tell me how you feel about my picks. I am going to go off the favorites track on a couple of areas, and some of them just because I'm a fan and some because I got a bit of a hunch. I'll let you decide which ones you think are fan-based and maybe irrational in my thinking, or which ones are based on a hunch. We're going to start with the North Division today. We've got Toronto and Montreal. Starting goalies are the biggest question in this series. Is Price going to be well enough to play the whole series? And then do the Leafs start Campbell? I assume they will to start, but how long do they keep him in if he's not playing up to expectation? Anderson sitting in the wings. Toronto's power play has been horrendous down the stretch, and lots of players, though, back from injury for both teams. I think the Canadians have the advantage, though, with the players they've got coming back from injury. Of course, I talked about Price. They've got Shea Weber, and they've got Galchenyuk. And, these are big guys or guys that will play well come playoff time. So I think, the Leafs are going to be in for a good run. Forward depth has got to go to the Leafs. I mean, they're running three, could be top lines on some teams in the league. So far this year. My rational brain says Toronto's going to win this one, but I'm going to take Montreal in 6. This one I'm going with a hunch, and we'll take Montreal in 6 because they look like they're set to be a playoff team. Of course, now let's move to Edmonton and Winnipeg. Starting goalies are Hellebuck versus Smith. Just watched the Edmonton-Vancouver game. Koskinen just does not look ready. Still going glove side. Seems to be the report on him. Lost that one 4-1 moving into the third. Scheifele line with Connor and Wheeler obviously needs to step up. They've been good offensively. Defensively, they've been leaking goals like crazy. They need to get it done, not just offensively, but in the defensive zone, especially against a powerhouse team like Edmonton that's got sporting Connor McDavid and, of course, Leon Draisaitl. They're going to have to maybe change their game a little. I assume they're going to be played pretty hard in the playoffs. We'll see what the refs have to say and how they call each game. If they're calling it by the book, then the Oilers will dominate for sure, as the power play is going to do well like it always does. What I do think, though, is the Oilers need somebody to step up from the bottom 6. Who's that going to be? But you need you need a Pisani to go the distance, and we all know about that. I am still giving the advantage to the home team, and that is the Edmonton Oilers, who I think will go in 6. We are going to move to the West Division. We've got Colorado and St. Louis. Starting goalies are going to be Grubauer versus Binnington. Goaltending for both teams is going to have to be solid and healthy. Top line for the Avs could be the best complete line in hockey today. When McKinnon is healthy, of course he was day-to-day not that long ago, but McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog are just outstanding when they're playing at the top of their game. Question mark could be, does the Blues experience having a cup run recently help to vault them out? They need Binnington to give them a steal and a stellar performance. The Avs are just too good. I'm going to go with the Avs in 5 games. Next up, we've got Vegas and Minnesota. Here's one where I'm going off the board. Obviously, Vegas was up for President's the President's Trophy with Colorado. Starting goalies are going to be Marc-Andre Fleury versus Talbot. Both have good or decent and well-known playoff success. Marc-Andre Fleury has, of course, had way more than Talbot has. Wild's defense is outstanding with Spurgeon, Suter, Brodin, Dumba as their top forward. And this, in my mind, though, is not going to be an exciting offensive series. I don't know if you'd agree with that or not. But here's where I'm going off the board. I think that Minnesota is going to take this one in 6. All right, then we move to the East Division. We've got Pittsburgh versus the New York Islanders. Starting goalies are Varlamov versus Yari. Crosby has been outstanding as is usual. He picks up his game when he needs to. He's one of my favorite all-time players. Playing with some line mates for an extended period this year sure will help. I do love Eberle. Always have that Oilers love for him, but I still have it in my head that he's a little soft in NHL playoffs. But maybe he can prove me wrong. If he can find the magic we know he's capable of and had in the national or international play, then he'll do well. The Isles have goaltending and some offensive power to win, of course, but I'm just not betting on it. Pittsburgh's going to be way too strong. I'm going to take Pittsburgh in 5 games. Next up, we've got Washington versus Boston. I think this is going to be one of the most exciting series of the first round. Goaltenders of Vanacek versus Rask, which is really experience versus rookie. Also, Rask was super hot down the stretch. Defense will be key in this game, in this series. And funny turn with Chara, who seemingly will be on the wrong end of the ice. But the Bruins have some high-end firepower, especially with Hall being picked up at the deadline. And he seemed to have found a nice home in Boston. So they've got 2 top lines that they're running. I hate Marchand as much as anyone, but the guy is good, and that Bruins line is outstanding, which shelters them with the 1-2 punch now with Taylor Hall on the second line. The curiosity I have in this series is what will Wilson bring to the series? As we know, he's quite the contender, and with everything that's gone on, I'm really curious how he brings his game. So I am going to take this one to go all 7, but I'm going to take Boston in 7. I just think they're way too good. Let's move to the last division. That's the Central Division. We've got Carolina versus Nashville, Saros versus Nedeljkovic or Mrazek, possibly. Both great goalies for Carolina. Carolina, in my mind, is one of the most balanced forward cores in the league. Just about anybody from any line can score. Nashville will have some catching up to do. They're kind of in a transition right now with a little bit of younger talent after the top line. Defense for both teams is very solid. In fact, Carolina is just outstanding in that area. But I think they're way too balanced to not win this series. Nashville's goaltending is going to have to steal it. So I'm going to take Carolina in 5 games. Next up, we've got Florida versus Tampa Bay. It's Vasilevsky versus Bobrovsky. Arguably the best goalie in the league in Vasilevsky. Bobrovsky is not too bad, and he's had a better season this year. Of course, Florida has a considerable investment in Bobrovsky already. That means, though, with Tampa Bay, Stamkos and Kucherov magically healed from their injuries in time for playoffs, are expected to return to the lineup. Barkov, though, on the Florida side, is probably one of the best players in the game right now. This, in my mind, is maybe the hardest series to figure out. Initially, I would have said Florida, but because of Stamkos and Kucherov coming back in, there's going to be question marks about how they transition in, but those 2 players are so highly skilled that I'm not sure that it really matters. And then if Hedman plays as well as Hedman can, he's also one of the best, if not the best defenseman in the league, then this team is as great as they were before. And the other curiosity I have is Florida's done well with Ekblad out of the lineup, but how does that translate when it comes down to the wire in the playoffs and after a tough season where obviously all the schedules were condensed? I am going to take Tampa Bay in 6 games. Now I'm going to finish off this area here. We're going to go Montreal and Edmonton. I'm going to take Edmonton in that series. I just think Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, if they start to get their wheels under them, and Smith starting to play well, or continuing to play well, rather, Edmonton will be in the conference finals. Next up, we got Colorado and Minnesota. Is this Colorado's year to get past the second round? I'm not 100% sure. My money right now is on Minnesota to be the sleeper team in the playoffs. Pittsburgh and Boston is up next. We've got a really high firepower with both teams, but I think this is Crosby's years to shine again in the playoffs. And then Carolina and Tampa Bay. I am going to take Carolina. And then last, we're going to go Carolina and Edmonton, which will be kind of exciting and kind of new given all of the history. We would take Edmonton in that one to go into the finals. And then last but not least, we've got Pittsburgh and Minnesota. I am hoping for an Edmonton-Pittsburgh Stanley Cup final. So I went way off the board. I don't think that my bracket's going to be much similar to anybody else's, but I'm happy to say I think that Edmonton, this is going to be their year, and a lot riding on how the first round ends up. That's my bracket for the Edmonton Oilers Twitter Fans League. Thank you. Please make sure you get out and vote on the Upper Deck Ultimate MVP. You can go to bit.ly, so bit.ly/Ultimate MVP, and that'll take you to the tweet that you need to like in order to get me to the top. I really appreciate everybody's support, and good luck with your hockey brackets this year. And let's go Oilers. Thank you.